Look up, right now, somewhere above your head, something is doing the one thing human beings have wanted to do since the very beginning of our existence. A bird pushes off a branch, opens its wings, and lifts off the ground. No machine, no engine, no effort that we can even begin to understand. It just leaves the earth behind, like gravity is a rule it was never required to follow, and we have been staring up at that, wanting it, for as long as we have been human. Every culture on earth has a myth about flight. Every old religion puts wings on its angels, its messengers, its gods. We told stories of men who built wings from feathers and wax. We jumped off towers with cloaks stretched between our arms. We drew detailed sketches of flying machines centuries before we had any hope of building one. The desire to leave the ground is stitched so deeply into us that we dream about flying while we sleep. Almost everyone does, in every country, in every age. So here's the question that almost nobody actually stops to answer properly. What if we could? Not in a plane, not strapped into a machine, or hanging under a parachute. What if you had been born with wings of your own? Real ones, made of muscle and bone, growing from your back. Yours to open and use whenever you wanted. It sounds like the single greatest gift a body could ever be given. But here's the strange part. The part that should genuinely make you stop and think. Evolution had hundreds of millions of years to give human beings wings. And evolution clearly knows how to build them. It invented flight not once, but at least 4 separate times. In insects, in the ancient flying reptiles called pterosaurs, in birds, and in bats. 4 completely different times, life figured out how to climb into the air, and every single time it could have pointed that gift at something like us. It said no. The reason why is far stranger than you think, and by the end of this, it might completely change the way you see your own 2 hands. Let's start with the problem that nobody ever thinks about. Weight, because flight was never really about having wings at all. It's about being light enough to be lifted by them. And every flying animal is built, from the inside out, around that single ruthless obsession. Take a bird. A bird's bones are not solid like yours. They are hollow, thin shells of bone wrapped around empty pockets of air, braced on the inside with tiny crisscrossing struts for strength, like the inside of an aircraft wing. Their skeletons are so light that, in many birds, the feathers on their body weigh more than the entire skeleton underneath. A bald eagle can stretch its wings more than 2 meters across and weigh less than a small house cat. The whole animal is essentially a warm feather with a heartbeat. Now look down at yourself. Your bones are dense, solid, heavy, and built that way for a reason. They are designed to carry your full weight across the ground, to let you lift, push, carry, and absorb impact without shattering. For you to ever leave that ground under your own power, your entire skeleton would have to hollow itself out. And hollow bones for a creature your size are dangerously fragile bones. The very same lightness that lets a bird ride a gust of wind would leave you so brittle that a hard fall, or even a bad enough stumble, could snap bones that currently would never break. Then there is the sheer size of the wings themselves, and scientists have actually sat down and run these numbers. To lift the weight of an average adult human being up off the ground and keep them there, you would not need the neat little folded wings you see in paintings of angels. The physics is brutal. You would need a wingspan somewhere around 6 to 7 meters tip to tip. That is wider than most cars are long. Picture that for a second. Picture 2 wings, each one longer than you are tall, unfolding out of your shoulder blades every single time you wanted to take off. You could not walk through a door. You could not sit in a chair. You could barely move through the world you actually live in. And here is the thing. Even those enormous wings would be completely useless without an engine powerful enough to move them. This is where it really falls apart. In a bird, the flight muscles, the great slabs of muscle that drive the wings downward hard enough to beat gravity, can make up as much as a third of the animal's entire body weight. A full third. That is why a pigeon's chest feels so absurdly solid for such a small creature. For you to flap a pair of wings big enough to lift a human, you wouldn't just need the wings bolted on. You would need a chest like a barrel. You would need a breastbone jutting out from the front of your body like the keel of a boat, because that is exactly what birds have. A deep, bony ridge for those massive muscles to anchor onto. Your familiar human shape, your flat chest, your shoulders, all of it would completely disappear beneath the sheer bulk of muscle required just to get you off the ground. But here is the cost that actually matters, the cruel one. The one evolution could never get around. Those wings would have to come from somewhere on your body. You don't get new limbs for free. And in almost every flying creature that has ever existed, the wings are not extra limbs at all. The wings are the arms. They are the same limb, stretched and reshaped over millions of years. A bat's wing, if you look closely, is a hand. Long, impossible fingers with skin stretched between them. A bird's wing has the bones of an arm folded up inside it, which means for you to gain a pair of working wings, you would almost certainly have to give up your hands. And stop and really think about what that means. The same hands that chipped the first stone tools. The same hands that learned to control eternal fire, that planted the first seeds, that wrote the first words, painted the first paintings, built every wall and wheel and engine and city. The same hands that built the device you are watching this on right now. Every single thing the human species has ever made, everything that separates us from every other animal on this planet, came out of these hands. To gain the sky, you would have to trade away the exact thing that let us build the entire world. And it still doesn't stop there, because flying is one of the single most punishing things a body can possibly do. It is staggeringly expensive in terms of energy. A flying animal burns through fuel many times faster than a running animal of the very same size. A tiny hummingbird has to eat almost constantly, all day long, just to keep from starving to death between meals, because its hovering flight burns energy so fast. Scale that up to a human body, and the numbers become almost impossible. To keep wings that size beating, to actually stay airborne for any real length of time, you might have to eat thousands of extra calories every single day, on top of everything you already eat. Your wings would not be a taste of freedom. They would be a leash made of pure hunger, constantly dragging you back down to the ground to find your next meal. So let's picture, just for a moment, that you somehow got past all of it. Every single barrier. The hollow, fragile bones. The vast 6-meter wings that won't fit through any door. The grotesque barrel chest. The bottomless, gnawing hunger. Picture that against all of it. The whole impossible machine somehow works. You walk out into an open field. You crouch down low. You feel those enormous muscles across your back and chest tighten and load, and you push off the ground. Because here is the part that almost no one ever stops to truly imagine. Not the science of it. The feeling of it. That first powerful downward beat of your wings would lift your entire body clean up off the surface of the planet. No straps, no engine, no runway, no permission asked from anyone. Just you deciding to go up and going. The ground falls away beneath your feet. The wind changes from something that pushes against you into something that holds you up, and suddenly the whole world reorganizes itself below you. You could follow a river from the high mountains where it first begins, all the way down to where it finally meets the sea in a single unbroken afternoon. You could rise up over your own city and see it spread out beneath you like a living map. The cars crawling like insects, the people no bigger than specks, the buildings you've walked past your whole life, suddenly small enough to cover with your thumb. You could cross an entire mountain range the way you currently cross a room. For the first time in the whole long history of our species, that third direction, up, the one direction that has always been forbidden to us, would finally and completely belong to you. And maybe that, in the end, is the real answer to why we never got wings. Because evolution was never for 1 second trying to give us something beautiful. Evolution does not care about beautiful. It does not care about wonder, or dreams, or the view from up high. It cares about one thing, and one thing only. What survives long enough to pass itself on. And a creature that gave away its strong arms, its powerful gripping hands, its thick protective bones. A creature that traded away all of its strength and all of its safety on the ground, just for the chance to touch the sky. That creature would not have lasted very long down here among the predators and the cold and the hunger with the rest of us. The dreamers with wings died out. The ones who kept their hands survived. We did not conquer this planet by flying over the top of it. We conquered it slowly and patiently and from the ground up with the very hands we would have had to throw away. So we stayed down here. We kept our hands. And then, with those hands, we did something far stranger and far more impossible than simply growing a pair of wings ever could have been. We built wings of our own. Out of metal, out of mathematics, out of nothing but pure, stubborn, generations-long refusal to accept that the sky was never meant to be ours. We never needed feathers. We never needed hollow bones or a monstrous barrel chest, or to surrender a single thing that made us who and what we are. We did it the human way. We built the impossible with our hands, and then we climbed inside it, and we left the ground anyway. We just needed to want the sky badly enough. And we did. We always did. So the next time you are standing somewhere completely ordinary, and you hear that low, distant sound roll across the sky above you, and you look up and watch something cross it, notice the feeling that rises up inside your chest, that quiet, involuntary pull, that old wordless wish to follow it up there, because your body never grew its wings. But some part of you, the oldest, deepest part, has been trying to fly this entire time, and right now, looking up, it still is.